I'm Sicilian. I speak with my hands. I can't get behind a podium, so I have to come out here, so I hope you don't mind. Good afternoon. I'm John McKenna. I'm going to get into the introduction and the agenda in a minute, but I'm going to be talking about the PBM industry. I'm going to pontificate a little bit because something happened yesterday that was interesting. I was standing by our booth out there at DisclosedRx. One of the attendees came up to me. She goes, "What do you do?" I said, "We're in the PBM industry." She goes, "Ooh, that's a bad word." And I said, "What's a bad word? Pharmacy, benefit, or manager?" She's like, "All that together. It's not good." And I'm not going to fight that, right? The industry, the PBM industry has its challenges, but it's not applied to everybody. There are exceptions to the rule. Clearly, the big three, you're going to see a little bit of information about them. They own the major percent of the business in the industry. But there are a lot of other good companies out there, and this is why you're here today, trying to learn about them. I'm not up here to talk about DisclosedRx. I'm here to talk about the PBM industry, to help you, to educate you on what you should look for. Give you some ammunition regarding questions to ask, things to be looking for, to help you when you're back in your offices and you're trying to work with PBMs, whether or not you're looking to change or renew, whatever the case may be. The information I'm going to share today will be valuable to everybody. So what we're going to do, let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to do the agenda. I'm going to do a quick introduction, and clearly we use the Monopoly theme into this. All right, so we're going to get railroaded by the pharmaceutical supply chain. Is it worth the chance? Will you go directly to jail? Now, I'm not suggesting anyone's going to jail. We're just using the Monopoly theme here, and advance to go with the right PBM partner. So a little bit about me. First, is there any veterans here? It's hard for me to see, so if there's any veterans here, raise your hand. Appreciate your service. I want to thank you for that. If there's any Marines, Semper Fi. I was a Marine. If there's any West Point graduates, if you would like me to speak slower so you can understand, I'll be more than happy to do that as well. Right? I have to say that, being a Naval Academy grad. I spent 30 years in sales. This is new to me. The PBM industry is new, and it is interesting, and I'm constantly learning. I am the Chief Revenue Officer and joined DisclosedRx in January of this year. So literally, I'm pretty new. What motivates me and the passion? Clearly the Marine Corps. Very passionate about the Marine Corps. I love to fish. I am a junkie, and I am a boater. That is the name of my boat, the Stugatz. And if anybody watches The Sopranos, you'll know where that name came from. That was Tony's boat too. It's such a great name, I had to steal that. And then I just want to make two clarifications. I am from New Jersey. Nobody from New Jersey says Jersey, okay? Nobody does. We say New Jersey. When I met a guy today at breakfast, and he says, "Oh, Jersey." I said, no, we don't say that. It's New Jersey. And also, Jersey Shore is not indicative of who we are, okay? It's not the case. The Sopranos is much better, is more aligned to who New Jersey is. And what inspires me is I have 3 grandchildren. Trouble, more trouble, and a boatload of trouble. If for anybody who has grandchildren, I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. And if any of you don't and get the opportunity to, they change your life. It's just awesome. So let's talk about this pharmaceutical supply chain. Now, I did this when I was interviewing for the job. I did some homework, and I got this out of Drug Channels, I think the publication was called. And when I saw this, 2 things came to mind. And that was in November. 5 months later, I think I was pretty accurate. First one is this is complicated. And I think it's intentionally done that way to keep you in the dark, right? It is hard to figure out what's going on in this industry, and I believe it's intentional, and I haven't seen any reason to think I was wrong then. And when I first looked at this, I thought it was a treasure map. And to be honest, I don't think I was wrong on that either, because there's a couple big companies make a lot of money, and they found that gold, that's for sure. The problem is that's on the backs of other people, the employers and the employees primarily. And that needs to change. And that's why we're all here today, right? We believe in this change. The FMMA organization put on a great show. I wanted to thank everyone for that. But we're here because we know it needs to change. We cannot continue to do what we've been doing. And there are, like I said, there are some PBMs that do the traditional PBM behaviors, and you need to get away from them. And there are some great PBMs that are doing things right. But you can't be afraid to change. Because if you think they're going to change and give up all the money that they're making, I'm going to show you a little bit of information about that. That's not happening. They are not going to change. It's up to the people in this room. It's going to be a slow process, right? And, you know, it's like an aircraft carrier. It's a big ship, takes a real big time, a lot of time to turn, compared to a small boat can make a quick little turn. So this industry is like an aircraft carrier, but it starts here. You gotta put pressure on these companies to change. If not, nothing will, because they're not going to give up this gravy train. So why take the chance? Well, the top 3 PBMs are a monopoly. They make up 80% of the industry. Over 6.6 billion scripts were filled in 2023. 6.6 billion. That's a lot. And then look at the money that they're making. I wish my 401k was operating like this. They had the 50%, they went from basically 400 billion to 600 billion. And the big change was in the actual disproportionate growth was in the specialties drugs pricing. They do this because they can. No one's stopping them. All right, that's what I'm saying. If you think this is going to change and they're going to give up this revenue, they're not. And guess who's paying for this? As I said earlier, it's the employees and the employers. All right, drug costs aren't going down. This is a major issue for employers and families. It's a lot of concern. I mean, this is an important topic, and we need to resolve this. And again, like I said, it starts here. Well, you go directly to jail. You know, the PBM industry has been in the crosshairs of the government probably for the last 2 administrations for sure. Problem is, they're protected, right? I mean, it's going to take a long time to get through these barriers to make them change. And if you think they're just going to give up that billions and billions of dollars, they're going to think of alternative ways to change the system. So it's up to us, right? It's up to people working and finding companies that are aligned to their philosophy, that meet their needs, that are cost effective and care about the people. You know, the last gentleman, last name, I know his last name is Bond. I know his first name was not James, but his last name is Bond. He brought up the term fiduciary. I'm going to talk about that word because it's an important word. And these big monopolies they don't care. Their fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders. It's not to you, it's to their shareholders. You know, companies like DisclosedRx and other companies, they have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients. Again, I'm going to get in that a little deeper. The FTC reported, I only have a couple notes. The FTC reported the top 3 PBMs inflated specialty drugs and earned more than $7.3 billion from 2017 to 2022. $7 billion, and all they did was overprice the product. And they get away with it. And we keep paying it. We keep tolerating this. There are employees that are suing their employer because they are not managing the cost of their drugs. They don't think they're looking out in the best interest of the employees. So the employer is not looking at the best interest of the employees. If you're not with a good PBM, that could happen to you. These are actual cases going on. Some of them are getting delayed and all this kind of stuff because of all the lobbyists. There's a lot of money out there to protect these companies. But it's important that change occurs. And these other companies I'm referring to, these PBMs that are doing the right practices, are wanting to help you. We just got to find you. It's not easy. But we need everybody's help in this room. In order to really make a change in this industry, everybody has to participate. So what are they doing? Well, first, they're doing spread pricing. Right? Spread pricing means, as most of you know, if a drug costs $100, they're tacking on maybe $10 or $20 or $30. You know, when I grew up, the mafia did that. We call that the VIG, right? We're just charging more. And we went to jail for it. But in this industry, it's legal. The mafia people just went to jail. This is interesting. There are hidden fees all over the place. It's amazing. It's worse than your cell phone bill. There are fees. They just fee you to death. The rebates, right? There are rebates on product. Let's just say there's a $300 rebate on the product. A lot of PBMs are keeping that rebate or keeping a percentage of it. You know, what that percentage is varies, right? This stuff needs to stop. You got supply chain credits. You got supply chain ownership, people who own pharmacies. That's a conflict of interest. Companies can't own pharmacies. It doesn't even make sense how that's allowed to happen. Then there's brand substitutions. People are pricing generics at the brand cost. Again, this is easy to stop if you're with the right PBM, someone that you trust. And the list goes on, confusing fees. Again, I'm just learning this. So this is really educational for me. And every time we get an RFP and we read it and I see all these different fees, I just scratch my head. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why employers are tolerating this. They do have options. And they just need to go out there and find those options. Here's an example. This is just a tiny, tiny example. I even picked the worst case. Right? So I'm not going to pronounce any drug either. That's not going to happen. Now, usually there's some form of rebate associated with this, but not in the full amount. So this is where some of the money is being exchanged. But Novolog, I'll pronounce, right? So that's out there for $1,051. There are, as an alternative, that costs $526. Is your PBM or the PBM working in the best interest in charging the $526 or over the $1,000? Again, this is a fraction. Now, these numbers get real big when you start adding, a million, again, 6.6 billion scripts. Just take a million of that. That's $525 million per script, right? I mean, that's the total for the scripts of this drug. There's a ton of money out there. And it's going to the wrong people. And it needs to stop. So how do you find out who's a good PBM? Well, there's a couple ways. Ask me, I'll give you one. It's called DisclosedRx, right? But no, ask these questions, right? Will your current PBM or will a PBM contractually commit to be a fiduciary? So here's my other two notes. There's a word I hear, every industry has its own buzzwords. And in this industry, I'm learning the buzzword is transparency. I hear it everywhere. Does anybody know what transparency means or transparent means? So I went and looked it up in a dictionary. And it says, and this is the Webster Dictionary, free from pretense or deceit, easily detected or readily understood, characterized by visibility or accessibility of information, especially concerning business practice. I don't know. What does that mean to you? Seriously, what does it mean? I'm transparent. It doesn't have any teeth. Look at the term fiduciary. Fiduciary is a person or entity that is legally and ethically required to act in your, being the business, best interest. Your best interest. Everything they do is in your best interest. This isn't revolutionary, that no one's breaking the code here. This is just doing what's right when nobody is looking. That's all this is. Yet we're disrupting, we're disruptors in the industry by doing what's right. It's amazing to me. So this is the kind of things you need to be looking for. Rebates and supply chain revenue. They need to commit to 100% pass through. It's not hard. It's not their money. They didn't do anything for it. So it should go back to who it belongs to, the employer and the employee. Fully disclosed. No conflict of interest. Again, you can't own a pharmacy and be in this business. That's a direct conflict of interest. Fully disclosed means like your data. That's your data. You should see the data we get trying to do analysis for some of these employers. It's impossible to understand, and it's done intentionally. But it's your data. It's the business owner's data, and they should have complete access to it, and they don't. And these are the things that should concern you. Never price generics as brand pricing. That's innovative. Use an open formulary. At DisclosedRx, the client dictates the formulator. We don't dictate it. It's a custom formulary based on the client's needs. Now, those things are important. If you allow the PBM to direct the formulary, it could cause you some problems. Ask those questions. Are you using an open formulary? And then the greatest of them all is disclose all fees. You should know who's paying the PBM. At DisclosedRx, we get paid by one person, and that's the employer. That's it. And we get paid in two ways, and we're open about it. Everybody has to make money, so we're very comfortable with our value proposition. We have an admin fee that is a per script fee, not per employee per month, but per script. And we share it's called the Agile Channel Management, which is more of the specialty drugs. We work hard every day to go out and save the employees money. And then that savings, we revenue share. The employer gets 75%, we get 25%. Again, we're comfortable with that. That's full disclosure. And all the data that we have, we give to our clients every month. Usually they tell us, okay, when we need it, we'll ask for it because it's too much data. But we do it. We do it because it's the right thing to do. I came to this company, I had, like I said, I spent 30 some odd years in the financial services vertical and working with banks and credit unions. I got into the merchant processing business, which I thought was horrible. And then when I was interviewing here, I was doing homework and reading about this, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. This doesn't sound like a really good industry. And then my recruiter, who happened to be a classmate of mine, said, meet the founders. One of the founders is here. I can't see. His name is Zach. He's our CEO. And also with me is Steve and Gabby, our business development team. And when I met them, I felt their passion. It was clear that their commitment is in the best interest of our client. They actually were with a previous PBM, two of the gentlemen, our CFO, Ken, and Zach. And when they were with the previous PBM, they were put into an ethical position that they were not comfortable with. So true to who they are, they left. Other people left too because it was, I guess, I don't know what the issue was, didn't ask. But other people left in the leadership team too. Speaks a lot about their character. And then they started DisclosedRx with the number one principle is they will never have an ethical challenge. And that is the backbone and the foundation of who we are. That's why we're a fiduciary. And clearly you got to do other things, right? You got to have the member experience and all that. We do, and I'm not here to pitch that. But I'm here talking about the ethics. All we do is the right thing when no one's looking. So I can't remember who said it in a company meeting. I loved it, but that's who we are. And if we continue to allow these companies to control us, we actually have the power. but we can't be afraid to change. Change occurs every day in your life. You probably don't even realize it. Whether it's just a stop sign or a stop light going up in your community or something along those lines. And we don't care about that. But all of a sudden, well, we don't like change. And when it comes to a business decision, if we didn't have change, the wheel wouldn't have been developed, right? Everything is changing. And change is usually good. And the reason you look to change is because you're not happy. If you were happy, you wouldn't change. But the pharmaceutical costs are going through the roof. This is hurting companies, it's hurting people, and it needs to change. And this is why FMMA, this organization is important. Everybody in this room, we have that same common thread of we know it needs to change. So we believe it, we honor it, we live it every day at DisclosedRx. And again, there's other PBMs that do it as well. And I encourage you to seek them out. See if they align to your philosophy, in your organization. Learn more about them, but don't be afraid to change. Because if you don't change, you're going to keep getting the same old thing. That's how it is. And we're not going to make a dent in this and but breaking down these monopolies. So if this resonates with you, I just gave you a high level. We're right outside in the booth, happy to talk to anybody. But I appreciate your time and thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the conference. Thank you.